Software is no longer written. It's produced like a factory.
AI is something new. It's something that gives us so much leverage.
Now, today, you look at a car factory and it's the machines building 80, 90% of the car on that front. The humans are overseeing these.
I'm certain it will happen that we will define ourselves by our token budget and how much value we create with our token budget.
Hey everybody, welcome back to AI with Bry, the show where we're cutting through the noise and helping leaders learn, leverage, and lead with AI. I'm Brian Denstedt, and you can think of me as your Chief AI Officer helping you find your path. But here's the question for today. I want you to sit with it for a moment before we even get started. What does a guy from Bavaria, Germany have to do with a Silicon Valley billionaire calling him out publicly as one of the top AI developers in his entire ecosystem? Well, that answer is Chris Strobl. He is the reason why most companies are still debating whether to adopt AI. While most companies are already debating whether to adopt it, Chris is really already leaning in and replacing entire software development playbooks with AI. So a little bit about Chris. Chris is the founder and CEO of GitFlash, an AI deployment and adoption company based near Ingolstadt, Germany. He is the software factory guy. And if you haven't heard that term yet, you will as we go through this podcast, I'm sure. His thesis is very, very simple and radical at the same time. Software is no longer written. It's produced like a factory. And I'm doing this with a few clients already as well. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. With AI running most of the production line, he has been recognized by Chamath from the All In podcast, a former Facebook executive and an early investor in Slack, and obviously one of Silicon Valley's most influential voices, as one of the top ranked developers inside the 80/90 industries ecosystem, consuming more AI tokens than virtually anyone else on the platform. And Chris holds a mathematics and economics degree from LSE. And he previously built Hacker Bay and is now on a mission to show enterprises exactly how to become AI ready, not in theory, but in practice. So the Ferrari red jacket is obviously optional. The results are not. Chris, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Brian. Thanks so much. Thanks for the opportunity. Really excited.
Me too. I mean, I'm doing the same kind of thing with some of my clients as a fractional CTO, and it feels like you're light years ahead. So I hope I learn a whole bunch from you today too. So let's dive straight into it. Software factory guy. I love that positioning. I have my own Nano Bananas image generated for the factory concept as well. And I tell my clients about this all the time. So I want to understand it from the ground up from your perspective. So as we get into the learn segment of our show, help people learn about this factory concept you and I are leaning into. What is it? Why does it matter right now?
Factory is something, like it starts with an assembly line. So we 150 years ago decided, instead of doing manual labor work, let's have an assembly line. Let's take a process. You have an idea, then comes out a product at the end, and have an assembly line where we do step by step. And this assembly line was then the core machine to generate value. Like, it was to generate products that you can sell. And then because you have this assembly line that you just want to go faster and faster and faster, put out more products, you build a factory around it. So you're like, okay, if I build a lot of products on the assembly line, I need logistics. So we need now trucks that pick up the stuff. Then when you have an assembly line, you're like, okay, I need raw materials. So I need inbound logistics. And then when you have inbound and you have this machine going, you need a planner. You need somebody who's like, okay, now let's not just think about how much we can produce. Let's think about profit. Like, let's think about economics. Let's think about how do we plan? How do we utilize this machine, this factory? And I think it's such a beautiful term, software factory, because it gives our mind a very good idea of how we deal with this AI. And so AI is something new. It's something that gives us so much leverage. It gives us so much more possibilities to go from raw idea in terms of software to source code. But of course, we have already seen it goes from raw idea to assets. Like, you create videos, you create products, you create images, you create music, you create software. And this software factory thing is something where I guess it's easy for our mind of how is our relation towards the AI. And that's why I'm really excited about the term. And then I guess the core idea is also software factories gave us a lot of wealth. Like 200 years ago, when there was no factories, we would not have a podcast here. Like
That's
we
right.
would be probably on the field and trying to make enough to create enough productivity that the family is surviving on food.
That's
So
right.
factories created wealth and abundance, and it was something good for our society. And I guess when you now think of AI, a software factory will help us just have a better life. And it's a very positive idea that worked in the past. That's why I really love the term.
I do too. And I think it's important. Like the beginning of the factories, the humans were on the assembly line. Now today you look at a car factory and it's the machines building 80-90% of the car on that front. The humans are overseeing these things. They're still supervising. They're still making sure the machines are doing it correctly. So the factory concept so resonates. I'm curious.
Yeah.
You and I are this older paradigm shift of software developers, right? Like I've been doing this for almost 30 years. Sounds like you have been in that realm as well. Agile and Scrum were built for this world where humans are writing every line of code. It was trying to build this process for the humans to follow, but now AI is writing most of the code. What's falling apart about these methodologies in an AI native development environment, and how are you seeing the new model shift?
Yeah, like it's a very good point. Like, so first of all, Agile and Scrum was a very radical idea. Like when you took traditional corporations, they were top down hierarchical. So we plan, then we distribute, and if somebody does a mistake, we find the person who did the mistake, you get depromoted, like a very top down. And then people realized, hey, software is very complex. It's a more creative field. We need human capital to do most of the value creation, and we
Hmm.
need to get into a philosophy where it's not about finger pointing, where it's about finding collaboration. And I guess Google was always the one who put it to the extreme, where in the end you have the Google campus, you have free food, and on and
Yeah.
on and on and on. And of course, it was the extreme, but what happened is this was the most successful way to build this software stuff.
Hmm.
And that's why more and more companies adapted to it. But now I guess it's changing again the role of the developer. It's changing again the economics behind it. And when you think of AI tokens today, it's still heavily subsidized. So you basically buy your subscription that is a fixed price
Hmm.
per month, and you can burn a lot of tokens because the big labs didn't figure out the use cases yet. That's the most efficient way to get into a market, is to have subsidies. But what will happen over time is we will use more and more of those tokens, and I think the role will change dramatically of the person. And so, if I would be today in a factory, let's say a physical factory, and I have tons of raw material coming in, like steel, that
Hmm.
costs millions, the machines cost millions. Me as a human, I have this responsibility that I I'm responsible for creating output with this heavy machinery. My
Hmm.
salary is basically derivative. Like, so if let's say there runs in a factory 4,000 cars a day, and your job is that those 4,000 cars are running and it gets assembled, there's billions of dollars in wealth created, and if it breaks down, so you're we when we even talk now, we're like, okay, this is not an agile setting where it's like fun and
Right.
collaboration. It's a lot of responsibility, a lot of pressure,
Hmm.
and that's why the management will change and adapt. And I believe it happened already in advertising. So in the 60s, when you've seen Mad Men or other series on
Yep.
the, like, it was the great creative person with the big idea, and then comes the TV ad, and wow, now suddenly sales. But now if you look at performance marketing, the best marketers, they don't define themselves by their great idea. They're like, okay, I run $500,000 a month in budget. I run this amount of budget. This is my return on advertising spend. And of course, they're like, well, I need to generate this output. And I guess with tokens, we're still early, but I'm certain it will happen that we will define ourselves by our token budget and how much value we create with our token budget. And based on this measurable unit of value, a lot of agile will simply adapt. And so it will become a bit more, probably a bit more top down, a bit more planning, a bit more responsible, and less, not less creative, but maybe less this corporation, like less the Google world, maybe a bit more the Microsoft or IBM.
Yeah. And it's super interesting to me because I'm helping lead people through some of these factory setups like you're talking about. And you're one of the top token consumers. And I'm trying to tell these companies that I'm talking with, like, get the max plan for Claude, get the pro plan for whatever it is, like max this thing out, because the cost of that output is 10x or 100x cheaper than me hiring a second developer. So what if we spend $1,000 a month on tokens? What if we spend 2,000 a month on tokens? What if we spend 5,000 a month on tokens? The average developer in the United States is probably $10,000 or $15,000 a month. So the tokens, like, and you're one of the top token consumers. So obviously you're leaning in and embracing that. Do you have some advice or some feedback for people that are embracing that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess number one, let's realize the moment. So imagine we would talk in 2002 and talk about Google ad prices. Like, what's the cost per click on Google? There was a time when it was 12 cents. And for red shoes in New York, like red sneakers, New York, there was a time it was really subsidized and cheap. And so I guess we are right now still in this moment. So it's something where people see it and will adopt and will use it. But then this is like on the individual level. And then on the corporate level, I guess it's a leadership thing that you incentivize it. People are taking a job because they're good people, they do the job, they want to exchange time for money, and they do what somebody else is leading them to do. And so I guess a lot of the companies just didn't get the incentives right because it was too early and it was not clear where it is. And you can blame Mark Zuckerberg for a lot of things, but he now took the lead and said the bonus and the performance pay is directly linked to your token consumptions. Now, of course, in the news, they are like, oh my God, Zuckerberg is burning through all of those tokens. They lost their mind, like billions of dollars in token consumption. But here's the thing, at least he is trying it. He's like, in order to figure out the best compensation, the best usage, I now do a directly incentivized. Then I see how token consumption goes up. And then I'm becoming efficient in the budgets. And so I guess for companies to really lead and make the change, the best thing is to find an incentive scheme where you pay an additional bonus where people consume tokens, and then probably 1 or 2 quarters later find something to then have this investment really make the big returns by adapting slightly the performance fees. And this, I guess, is the best way to do it.
Yeah, my gosh, it's such an amazing unlock. I never even thought about it that way. The more tokens you spend, the potential bigger bonus you're going to get. Like, it really links it to exactly what we need to do on that front. So, amazing. I had some more questions on this learn segment, but we're going to probably go over time here a little bit. So I apologize for the listeners because this is going to be a fascinating conversation. I want to dive into the leverage section now. And I want to stay concrete here because honestly, your whole brand is about execution and not theory. So you've used AI automation to slash profile creation costs at GitFlash. I think what I was reading was from $1,000 per profile down to under like $10. That's a 99% cost reduction. So for those people that don't know what GitFlash is, give us a little introduction to GitFlash. And then let's talk about like what leveraging looks like at that scale. What did that change unlock for your business beyond just saving money?
Yeah. So I'm just like by training, I'm extremely methodolic. Like I really care about methodology and
Mm-hmm.
and see business more like as a scientific endeavor, like than just like okay, how can you make the next sale? And when ChatGPT came out in November, it came out, and then in March, the version 4, a tweet of mine went viral, and a good friend of mine said, "You have to do your previous business again. Like you have to do it again." I was like, "Hell no! I know all the problems of this business. I'm not doing it." But he convinced me. He's like, "Now with AI, it should work." But then I was like, "Okay, if we do it, we do it right." And GitFlash is an IT services company. So really the oldest and most boring business in the world that exists. So we do AI deployment, we have the company, we do services, we do consulting, we do the education and enablement. But here's the difference. So when we started out GitFresh, we looked at the market and we said, okay, if you look at the big companies like McKinsey, let's say they're the most analytical. So McKinsey Digital, Boston Consulting. So they
Mm-hmm.
analyze the
Yeah.
market, they go top down in. Then you look at something like Accenture, they are really good at process. So they are like hundreds of people, thousands of people structuring. Then you have companies, let's say MetaLab, that is extremely good at design. So they're like, we don't plan long, we do directly the user interface. And so we were like, how can GitFlash differentiate? And we were like, let's look at the software development process. So you have planning, you have design, you have development. So you have basically like 6 phases, and ask ourselves, how can we leverage technology in each phase to reduce the number of billable hours?
Mm-hmm.
How can we leverage technology to reduce the number of billable hours, and part of those billable hours we can give as a customer benefit by discounting and share the profits. And this led us to so many, this like structural methodology led us to so many breakthroughs,
Mm-hmm.
because we were incentivized to, when you're like discounting heavily, especially in the early days, like we were like discounting sometimes 70%. So we're like,
Mm-hmm.
get an offer from 3 competitors locally, and
Mm-hmm.
here's our pricing minus 70%. And then I was
Wow.
like, that was radical, because we still had to
Yeah.
survive and not go out of
Mm-hmm.
business. So we had to be efficient minus 95%. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was crazy, because suddenly your cost base is shrinking and then you have to be even more efficient. But it led us to so many innovations that then led to all of this structure that we are like, okay, people, even if you discount, they want a great customer relation. They want
Yeah.
to have change requests. They want to have more capacity, and they want great design and all of those things. And in all of those phases, we automated, and then naturally it came this thing with 80/90. Like I was not using 80/90 because I want to impress somebody. I was
Mm-hmm.
really unlucky that exactly in 3 projects parallel at the time was problems coming up exactly at the time where my setup just didn't work. Like
Yeah.
it was just too complex. One was legal stuff that's like lawyers were like saying, "Hey, the compliance doesn't work. You need to change the entire database of the like."
Mm.
And you can't blame the lawyers. They just didn't have
Yeah.
vision, so they saw the
Yeah.
final product. We're like, "No, it's broken." And that
Yeah.
was like one. Then the second one was an influencer said the design is not triple A. I can't launch it. Like, and I was like,
Mm.
"You are a PDF generator in perfect design." Like, so it was
Yeah.
like this. And third one was, there's a new technology with OpenClaw and others. I need to change to this new architecture where nobody was working on markdown files in January. Like it was like
Mm.
it,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
all of this at the same time, and then came this innovation where we were like, okay, we need better planning. We need this, like it needs to be industrialized. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where the leverage really came out. And so and I'm really excited about GitFlash, because in the end we learned just, I guess, faster than many others, because our business model forced us
Forced you
to
to.
be more
Yeah.
efficient.
Exactly.
And that was a conscious decision. So that was like conscious decision just to be really forced to do it and be at the cutting edge.
Yeah. And so leveraging AI is the key for every business on the planet. I don't care what business you're in, there's some way to leverage AI with what you're doing. So you're going to a client and you're saying like, are you ready for AI? And they say yes. What does that first 30 days look like? What breaks first? What do you fix first? How do you dip your toes in the water?
So the first question is like, is this a growth case or an efficiency case?
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to cut cost of your people or do you want to grow exponentially? If somebody
Great.
says, I want to cut cost, we are not the right partner.
Mm.
And the reason is the following: the opportunity cost of our time now, because we
Yes.
know how much you can do in 1 hour a day, like 8 hours a day
It's
with
incredible.
AI.
Incredible. Yeah.
So if they say my goal is to cut, I have 50 people and I want to be at 30 people in 6 months. I'm like, that's great, but I'm not wasting my time with such a case, because the opportunity cost for me is, even if you would give me all the savings, I'm missing out on the opportunity. And especially here
Yeah.
in Germany, like we have customers all over the world, like US and Europe, but a lot of people think so, oh, they think so zero sum. They're like, oh,
Mm.
if I take it away, like if I have leverage, somebody else has to lose. But if you have a
Yeah.
growth mindset and you're like, wait, so how much revenue are you doing right now with how many people? What would be if we can do 10x more revenue per person?
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah.
percentage of this revenue is then profit? And then comes the point, well, what is if your employees are not earning $10,000 a month, but like 30,000, have better life for their family and this and this?
Mm-hmm.
You can do better recruiting, and then the machine runs. And so my first question is really, where are we? And if it's a growth case, then all the other things are coming, because they're like, of course, they're like, here are the problems why it will not work, and then
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
creativity starts. But the north star needs
I
to be growth, like otherwise
I
it's not
my
fun.
side my sidebar question is like I'm deploying similar things at companies that I'm working with, and I'm trying to be conservative because I don't know. I don't have enough data points that maybe you do. So I'm curious to ask. I'm going in saying, let me install the factory. Give me one or two people. Give me a month or two to build the factory because it goes really fast. But once that's done, I guarantee you 2x speed. But I realistically, in my head, because I'm playing with it day to day myself, I'm realistically saying I should be telling the CEOs 10x speed. It could be 25x speed. Like it could be that drastic of a speed increase for your development pipelines. But I'm scared to say that because that blows my mind, but I'm seeing it. Like I am able to literally do one day's work that would have taken me 2 months in the past, which is, I don't know what that is, 10x, 20x, whatever that is. What are you telling the clients as you're going through these 30 days and okay, I have the growth mindset, I'm ready to go, I want to 10x my revenue. Can you 10x their speed, or what is the multiplier you're kind of teasing out with the clients? Because you and I know it's there if they're willing to lean in.
It's fascinating the way you say it. Like, first of all, yeah, like the problem is obvious. Like we don't want to over promise,
Right.
and we want good long-term customer relationships that are built on trust and not
That's
hyperbole.
right.
Like
Absolutely.
it's obvious. Like
Absolutely. Hmm.
you're 100% right. um at Hackerbait, the company we did before, and hacker not seen in the sense of criminals, but like rock stars on the internet. Like Mark
Yeah, yeah,
Zuckerberg
yeah.
calls himself a hacker. Like, so the Silicon Valley mindset. When we defined projects, we came up with this very radical new idea, and it was like, let's do the project definition in the initial workshop from the point of view that it's interesting to a developer. So
Mm,
how can we pitch this project that a great developer is intrinsically motivated to do it? And
hmm.
in this process, we figured out that the great developers understand this problem of opportunity cost. So if you're great, Google comes, or OpenAI or Anthropic comes to you and it's like, get a full-time job, work for me or they're like, should I do my own startup? I have an idea, or should I work for this company? So they have opportunity cost by working on it. And we asked the developers, what do you really care about? That was
Yeah.
like 2016, 17, like almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And all of them said, I want a business model of the software that scales, because I don't want to continuously look for new projects. Kind of like, I don't want to have new girlfriends all the time or boyfriends
That's
all the
right.
time. I want to get
Yeah.
married with the project. I
Mhm.
want to see it grow.
That's
And
right.
then we were like, what's the number? And the developer said an IT system should do at least $200 million a year. Now,
Mm.
like, what? Why should an IT system, not the company, why should it do at least $200 million a year? They're like, well, if it works, I want to hire my friends. I want to get them involved. Then I know that the company is not paying us 100%, and we need
Mhm.
some room to breathe. So if, let's say, we have 10 people, then you have like even the IT system, like if it works perfectly in a logistics or like in a chemical company, it's not 100% margin. So like in order to be profitable, that our salaries are long-term paid, it should make significant amounts of money.
Mhm.
And this $200 million number was so outrageous at the time, but we have done this workshop now, I guess, over 120 times. And
Mhm.
I'm constantly asking with the AI, is there a way that this IT system that you're building, like an intranet or an agent system or whatever you want, is it a way that the IT system makes at least 200 million a year, every year?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then it starts the process of, where are we, how does it go, like where is potential. And
Mhm.
it's outrageous in the first place, but I'm having this discussion before the project starts,
Yeah.
and it's so fascinating when you have great entrepreneurs on the other side, how much potential they see. Like
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
they're like, okay, but we would need to have new products, we would need to have more productivity on our employees, we need to have better relations with the banks. And so all the use cases suddenly get filtered away from, I need a better email writing. Like so
That's
it
right.
goes to the focus. And so this will be my long answer to your question of how
No.
we manage this.
It's perfect. I mean, I absolutely love that. It tells me, I think that the bottleneck is not really the technology. It's definitely the process, as we've talked about, the process around the technology. And AI just made that visible in a way nobody could ignore it anymore. And then furthermore, to your point, like you and I, it's a perfect segue into this leadership segment of the show, really, because you and I are the type of people that can come and ask the right question. And the right question is to, how do we spark the ideas? How do we get it going? Like, this has to generate 200 million. Like that, maybe it's attainable, maybe it isn't. Maybe we can only get to 80 million, but still that's better than $1 million budget that we started with, right? $80 million is close to 200 million. So asking the right questions to spark the AI, to spark the humans, to reach for the big hairy audacious goal or whatever that is. So just beautiful. um we're operating across like two different very worlds, different worlds now, I think, because we've got this Silicon Valley speed and disrupt mindset, and then you've also got this German engineering precision to some degree, where you're living and building it. Like that's a really interesting tension between those two things. What I'm seeing is enterprises want AI, but they're of it at the same time. Do I have the security stuff turned on? Do I not have it turned on? Is it going to destroy my whole company? They're running pilots, they're forming committees, they're hiring you and me as consultants, and nothing's really changing. But you've built a whole company around breaking that pattern. How do you lead an organization through that wall?
Yeah, like I guess it's a very good question. I guess the first thing is, where, like we are a service provider, so we are providing a service, so we are supporting the business. Silicon Valley is awesome in innovation. I love Silicon Valley, but we need to understand the company is already there, and the company is the core, and we are providing a service to the company. And this type of humility and respect towards the company is essential for AI adoption. So when they are terrified or scared or skeptics, especially very often skeptical, you need to take it seriously. And that's a tough job. And one of the key reasons why I really like AI, that change is coming, I believe that a lot of innovation was just limited, not because people were against innovation or pro innovation. It was just they were rational about the capacity of the partners. And that in the end, let's say you're a big financial institution, you have huge fonds like retirement funds as customers, and they are betting on you as a company that you create returns for those people to have their retirement. So if then a consultant comes in and say, hey, I do a design sprint and here's my idea, and then the person who's doing this job since 25 years like, but how are you doing this and this compliance? And they're like, yeah, it's not important, we're like Silicon Valley or whatever. Like, it just doesn't help anyone, and that's why projects slow down. But now with the AI, and this I think is the biggest unlock that we need to realize, is like we now have more intellectual capacity to address those concerns. So we can write a statement, we can write a report, we can analyze it, we can find a better solution, we can put those compliance requirements, IT security requirements, we can put it into the requirements of the software. We can have better design, we can iterate on design. So all of those things now, they first time become even possible to do. And I guess that's like where I'm now really excited about. The better the AI comes, the more use cases will get unlocked, because all what we need to do is just understand our role being somebody who is providing a service to those companies, while those companies, and this is like a perfect free market society, those companies are providing a service to their customers. And so it's becoming all of this machine where we just now have new tools. And I guess it's fascinating to be at the forefront of this. Yeah, like I guess we will
It
look
is.
back 10 years from now and be like, wow, this was a crazy time. We were not even sure if it would all happen, but I think it's logically, the better the AI comes, the more adoption it has, the more it will unlock growth, and it's going to be a great time.
I agree. I say this all the time on the show here. It's unlocking a new Renaissance era, in my opinion. So the question, like as leaders, and we have team members behind us who probably started out like us, like writing code line by line. And I know you talk about this a little bit on your own podcast with tech founders. Is how are you helping developers lead through that identity shift, who their whole profession and self-image is built around the writers of the code, and now they're the assembly line supervisors? And I know Chamath's whole 80/90 thesis is helping replace legacy software with AI native alternatives. So like there's plenty of work, as we're both discussing here, but it is still this mindset shift of like the people that really love to create aren't going to get to create as raw anymore as they used to. And it's this mindset shift for us developers to go through. How are you helping lead people through that?
The best way for them is to have a private use case in their personal life where they could empower somebody of their friends. Like a very good friend of
Mm,
mine, he said, for his children, he built a small app that can create drawings, and then he prints them out, and then those like can be painted by the daughter. Or another one
yeah.
friend of mine said his wife runs like a flower shop, and he built the entire system for bookkeeping and automation that she just can focus on the customers and the flowers that she wants. Or an animal shelter software. Those things where some people have their private life and the developers have their private life, they're part of their community, and then they can bring value to others and get this recognition for the value they bring. I guess this will be the biggest shift in mindset, because they're like, hey, I'm valuable to society, I'm valuable to my wife, friends, kids, because of my technological skills. And
Yeah.
because I have now the AI, I can do so much more. And the moment you understand this, a lot of this fear of job replacement is going away, because we now have the data at GitFlash. Like, so let's say November 25, the first time the AI models really worked. Then what happened? Some of our customers are really forward leaning. I'm super thankful for them. But suddenly they were like, in January, they were like, okay, let's pause some projects. We need to see if we can get you out.
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough, they all came back in March. So they tried it, and then they wanted to build more. They saw the power, and they were like, wait, GitFlash is actually cheap. Like, my return on investment on each hour of GitFlash is now even higher. Okay, I need
That's
to buy
right.
more. And so I guess a lot of developers don't understand, like, when you're already today getting paid by a company because they think they have a ROI on your hour of, let's say, a 3x. Like, you invest $1 in developers, you get $3 out. Let's say the
Yeah.
IT system, whatever. If you now have 30x per hour, like $1 in,
Yeah.
30x out, the demand for software developers is going to skyrocket who are professional in AI.
That's
The
right.
new software that's created is skyrocketing, and the technical debt will skyrocket that then you need professionals to solve. And so
That's
I
right.
guess a lot of this is just right now up and down. And then the best thing they can do is like be valuable to friends and family with your skills, and then just embrace it fully. And the people, this is maybe the where I'm just like very conservative or German here. The people who now are not excited by AI, are not excited by programming, are not excited by this power that we have. Maybe the career choice in the first place was not the right one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I would really ask AI, what is my real profession? How do I want to be useful to society? And if it's not programming, maybe it's something else that you always wanted to do. So you came into this job because it was well paid or it was safe. But then use the AI to find out where you can be really valuable, because it will be the single source of happiness that you
That's
have,
right.
that you know that you're valuable to others. And so I guess this is like, then use it for this at least. If it's not software, then use it now. Like, it will be the
For
best time
anything,
ever to find.
use it to teach yourself the passion you've always dreamed
Yeah,
of. Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
I'm hearing like the biggest barrier is not these tools. It's this willingness for us as humans to let go of the old model. And like that's a leadership problem way more than it's a technology problem.
absolutely.
Way more.
Yeah, and then Brian, maybe one thing to add, just like, we're early, and so how do people take decisions? A lot of there's the early adopters who want to do it. They believe in the raw value of things, and they are leading by sheer adventure. Yeah, like they're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
leading.
Yeah.
And but then a lot of people are basically also observing others. What do they do? Are they successful? Is it safe? Is it valuable? Are they now making more money? Are they now more successful? Are they more happy with their life? And then they will follow based on this. So they were like, I make my decision based on what other people do. And I think it's just going to also in going to be easy when now more and more people are successful with AI, that then others are like observing this and they're like, okay, maybe I should try it out. And then the tools will speak for itself, because they're so
Yeah.
natural. It's so much better to talk to them than anything else we ever had. And so I guess the adoption will just take care of itself. And as a leader,
That's right.
I guess one should just set the incentives right and be like, I'm in for AI. I want to do this. And now I'm having a long-term horizon on it. And then I guess everything else will play out pretty fairly.
I agree completely. Yeah, it's very very well said. I see it. Even my brother, a little bit more security conscious, but he's coming around to the fact that he's got to lean in on this. So
Yeah.
I'm going to take away from this conversation the big takeaway that this software factory is not just the metaphor; it's a genuine like reimagining of how human beings and AI are going to work together building things. And I think that's the paradigm shift that's coming, whether enterprises are ready for it or not. So the question is just whether you lead it or you get led by it, right? So Chris, thank you so much for being here. We didn't even get to talk about OpenClaw, and I know I had a couple of questions I wanted to talk with you about that. So I hope you come back in a few months and we can geek out about OpenClaw, Hermes, and some of these other agent systems that are coming online. But thank you again for being here and taking the time out. I know it's a little bit later in the day for you. How do people find you, follow your work, and get into your world? Tell us the links.
So softwarefactoryguy.com, that's like the personal brand, and then gitflash.com, so similar like GitHub, so Git, and then Flash like Stanford Flash organizations was concept like 10 years ago. So gitflash.com and softwarefactoryguy.com.
Perfect. We are going to make sure those links are down in the show notes, and all of Chris's content and whatnot are in the show notes as well. So you can click straight through and check out his podcast. To everybody out there, if you're building software, leading a development team, or trying to figure out how to actually make your organization AI ready, please share this episode. Both Chris and I are experts in this, and this conversation is one that your CTO needs to hear. So please follow this podcast, leave us a review, and check out all the ways, again, to connect with Chris in the show notes down below. Thank you again, Chris. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
I'm Brian Denstead. You've been listening to AI with Bry. And remember, the future doesn't wait. Learn, leverage, and lead. And we'll see you next week. This episode of AI with Bry was hosted and produced by me, Brian Denstead. Produced with help from Nancy Velasquez and Kelly Lopez. Video by Leo Moralina. Sound AI generated. Find us on all platforms at AI with Bry and visit ai.bry.net for more. Learn, leverage, lead.